Welcome to this explainer. Let's just jump right into it. If you're currently preparing for medical or dental school, you already know the UCAT is standing in your way like a final boss. And if we're being honest, the one section that consistently causes the most anxiety is the decision-making subtest, specifically those tricky logic puzzles. But today, we're going to completely change how you look at them. I'm walking you through a masterclass pulled directly from official UCAT consortium data and top decile strategy guides. By the end of this, we're going to transform this notoriously stressful test into a highly beatable, methodical game.
Here is our strategic roadmap for today. We'll start by decoding the format, then dive into the decision-making playbook. After that, we'll cover sequencing, matching tasks, and spatial logic before wrapping up with timing and common traps.
All right, part 1, decoding the format so we really understand our playing field. Now taking a macro look at the cognitive subtests, there's something super interesting going on here. Look right at the middle there, the decision-making section. You've got 35 questions and exactly 37 minutes to tackle them. But pay very close attention to how this specific section is marked. It is completely unique because it awards 1 mark for single answers, but a full 2 marks for multiple statement questions. And yes, partial credit is available. That means your strategic approach in this specific section carries a massive amount of weight for your final score.
And this perfectly highlights how the macro scoring of the exam actually works. The cognitive subtests give you a scaled score from 300 to 900, while the situational judgment test is graded in bands from 1 to 4. But honestly, here is the absolute best news you're going to hear all day. There is absolutely zero negative marking anywhere on the UCAT. None. You are scored solely on the correct answers you give. So what's the takeaway here? You must never, ever leave a question blank.
Moving on to part 2. The decision-making playbook, and how we shift from solving to deducting. We really need to reframe your mindset here. The biggest trap students fall into is anxiously trying to solve a logic puzzle all at once in their heads. Don't do that. The key is finding what top scorers call the anchor. Think of every logic puzzle as a chain. The habit that literally separates good scores from great ones is finding the most restrictive rule first. You cannot just read the rules in the order they're printed. Scan all of them to find that one rule that fixes an entity directly or eliminates the most possibilities at once. Once you place that anchor, every single subsequent deduction becomes 100 times easier.
So how do you actually spot that high-value anchor in the wild? You look for these specific signal words. Whenever you see words like exactly, immediately before, immediately after, or only, ding, 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 you've found your starting point. Better yet is a direct assignment, like Amir is in room 3. That is absolute gold, because it places one entity with total certainty. This is your 1-2 punch. Spot the signal word, drop the anchor, and instantly shrink the puzzle solution space.
Let's apply this. Part 3, sequencing tasks, or mastering the lineup.
Here is your unpanicked step-by-step method for sequencing. First, match your sketch to the real world. If the puzzle's about a queue of people, draw a horizontal line. If it's a building with floors, draw a vertical stack. Trust me, this prevents so much directional confusion later on. Second, find and lock in your consecutive pairs, like A is immediately before B. Locking these chunks in shrinks your puzzle incredibly fast. Finally, you just layer your looser relative rules, like C is somewhere before D, around the anchors you've already fixed.
Now for part 4, matching tasks and connecting the categories. This right here is the absolute most common logic puzzle format you'll see in the UCAT. For matching, you always want to use a 2-way grid. Why? Because the grid completely removes the need to hold floating possibilities in your working memory. It lets the paper do the heavy cognitive lifting. Just draw a grid, apply your most positive direct rules first, and get a confirmed pairing. The second you get a confirmed tick, you can confidently cross out the rest of that row and column. And for those really complex double matching puzzles, like pairing students to subjects in specific days, easy. Just draw 2 grids and feed the confirmed answers back and forth between them. But what about those classic traps that cause everyone to freeze up? I'm talking about negative rules and unknown entities. Say a rule tells you Beth is not on Monday or Wednesday, and there are 4 days total. Don't panic. Convert it into a positive. Beth is on Tuesday or Thursday. Just leave those negative rules alone until your grid is filled enough that they become direct confirmations. And unknown entities? If someone is named in the intro prompt but literally never mentioned in the rules, ignore them. Treat them as a free variable. They will naturally slot into whatever empty space is left at the very end. On to part 5, mastering spatial logic tasks and thinking in multi-dimensions. Do not, I repeat, do not fall into the trap of drawing a single straight line for a spatial puzzle. If the puzzle is about people sitting at a table, draw a circle. If it's about compass directions, draw a cross. Get that 2D map sketched immediately. Then, exactly like we did before, find your most fixed entity and lock it in. The ultimate secret here is to use adjacency rules, phrases like immediately to the left, to work your way outward from your anchor. Finally, part 6. Timing, common traps, and protecting your hard-earned score. 63. That is the exact number of seconds you have available per question in the decision-making section. Let that sink in for a second. You literally do not have the luxury of time to casually ponder these questions. Because of that harsh 63-second reality, you have to adopt the ruthless 10-second rule. If you scan the rules of a logic puzzle and you cannot spot a clear anchor clue within 10 seconds, flag the question and immediately move on. Seriously, complex puzzles that don't have direct confirmations are massive time sinks. Use that flag function actively, and go grab your easy points elsewhere first. You can always come back. Now, let's confront one of the biggest psychological hurdles out there. When you see the option cannot be determined, do you instantly avoid it, assuming you just missed a clue? Or worse, do you select it way too quickly just because the puzzle feels too hard? The source material clears this up brilliantly. Cannot be determined is not a trick. It is a highly mechanical, correct answer when multiple valid arrangements exist. To totally cure your anxiety around this, just use the 5-second check. Once you find one valid arrangement that works, take 5 seconds to ask yourself, can I swap any unfixed entity into a different position, still satisfy all the rules, but change the answer to the question? If the answer is yes, then cannot be determined is absolutely the right choice. And that brings us to the core philosophy of this entire playbook. The UCAT isn't testing your ability to blindly guess or just be smart. It is testing your discipline to methodically deduce. Every puzzle is just a chain. Find the anchor, place it, and build your deductions step by step. So here's what you should be asking yourself after watching this explainer. Are you ready to stop blindly solving and start strategically building? Best of luck with your UCAT prep. You've got this.